God bless you this evening. Welcome to our service, our live service, our live stream. I give thanks to every single person who are gathering tonight to stream with us live to our church service through this platform. We give thanks to God that we're able to bring service, to bring worship through this platform here. We're so blessed for this. We're going to begin our Friday's church service. And I want us to open our Bibles to Psalms 125. The Word of God, in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Those who trust in the Lord are like Mount Zion, which cannot be shaken, but endures forever. That is the promise from God to our lives. That those who are and remain in the ways of God will not be shaken. Families, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Before we begin, we want to do a prayer. I want you to join me together with your families together, right there where you are. And I know that there are many people who have lost a loved one because of this pandemic, because of this disease. I want you to together pray for the families that are left behind so we can ask God to empower their lives. Father God, we give thanks to you, Jesus Christ. Thank you once again for allowing us to be here once again, to be able to share your word and your worship to you live here on live stream. We ask you that your presence will be with us. We ask you that your presence will be with us every single moment, that what is going to be shared, the word that is going to be imparted, the word will touch the hearts. Those that will hear the worship singing to you, the word, they may hear us or listen later on, or even tomorrow, or later on during the week. I ask you, God, that you may bless these lives. Bless them as well. All these people that they are crossing this valley of illness, of pandemic. Father God, and perhaps they have lost a loved one due to this COVID-19, God, pandemic. And Father God, bring peace to the families that are hurting right now because they have lost somebody. Bring in peace, bring comfort to their heart, to every single one of these people, Heavenly Father, that they are going through this difficult time, this pandemic, this virus. Father God, in the name of Jesus, I ask you to cover your children, God. Your children, cover your people. I pray, God, that you will cover your church, Heavenly Father. Every single one of our families are covered under your precious arms, Lord. In the name of Jesus, under your wings, Heavenly Father, we give thanks to you because we know that you have freed us from all illness. You have freed us, Heavenly Father. In the name of Jesus, thank you. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus, because we can say to this moment, Ebenezer. Thank you, Jesus. Church of God, God bless you this evening. Let us worship our Lord and sing.
Me envuelve tu presencia. Solo quiero estar ante tus pies. Me envuelve este momento santo y no me quiero ir. No busco bendiciones. Cristo, no me debes nada a mí, más que lo que tú puedas hacer. Te quiero a ti. Y lo siento por andar por ser sentimientos,
Lo siento.
por cantar sin adorar. Llévame hasta el inicio, abro mi corazón a
A
ti.
ti.
Lo siento,
Por buscar lo mío primero,
lo siento,
por olvidar que bastas tú.
llévame hasta el inicio, abro mi corazón a
A
ti.
ti.
I'm caught up in your presence. I just wanna sit here at your feet. I'm caught up in this holy moment. I never want to leave. Oh, I'm not here for blessings. Jesus, you don't owe me anything more than anything that you can do. I just want you.
And I'm sorry
When I've just gone through the motions,
I'm sorry.
when I just sang another song, take me back to where we started. I open my heart to you. I'm sorry.
When I've come with my agenda,
I'm sorry.
when I forget that you're enough,
Take me back to where we started. I open my heart to you. Me envuelve tu presencia. Solo quiero estar ante tus pies. Me envuelve este momento santo y no me quiero ir. No busco bendiciones. Cristo, no me debes nada a mí, más que lo que tú puedas hacer. Te quiero a ti.
y lo siento.
Por andar por sentimientos,
Lo siento.
por cantar sin adorar. Llévame hasta el inicio, abro mi corazón a ti. Lo siento,
Por buscar lo mío primero,
lo siento.
por olvidar que bastas tú.
Llévame hasta el inicio, abro mi corazón a ti.
Praise the living God. It is truly amazing, like the worship song is saying. It is for us to recognize that we have disposed of those things or placed those things, that we have prioritized the things that we shouldn't be prioritizing them. We have put those things before God so that we come to a reconciliation with God. We have forgotten that God should be first. Good evening. God bless you. We have come again to the homes. Thank you so much for being so loyal, for joining us week by week, so that we can gather together to hear God's word. Thank you so much. I'm very grateful. Thank you so much, church and friends and family. I know that you're there, you're hearing, waiting for the message, that you are able to rejoice, enjoy the beautiful word of God. Always making sure that God is first in our lives. Now, you need to do something before we go to God's word. You need to go get your Bible. You need to get your kids, get to sit down, give them a little candy or something, give them something to drink, or get yourself something to drink, some coffee, whatever you need to do. Whatever you need to do to be able to get ready to sit down and hear what God is about to say to you. Greetings to all the friends and family, wherever you may be watching us, from the Indian Nation, Central America, Guatemala, Honduras, Puerto Rico, Mexico, any country that is watching us and joining us, anywhere, Europe, anywhere. We're going to speak today about a very interesting, message. Discover your mission of your life. This is a very important time. We're going to go to the book of Hebrews, chapter 12, 1 to 2. The Word of God says, in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, in this way. Therefore, Hebrews 12:1. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. Verse 2. And let us fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy set before him endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. What a beautiful blessing. You may be seated this beautiful evening. We're very glad. And here, I want to tell you a story to everyone who is listening this evening. I know that I told this to the church before. This is a story in Mississippi. There was a woman who was 25 years of age. And this woman wanted to take her own life. She wanted to commit suicide. This woman wanted to end her life. And one day, she decided to, go up a bridge over the Mississippi. And the story goes, and it was a very high bridge, right? And she went up to jump, and she hit the water very quickly, and she started to drown. And all of a sudden, without unknowingly, a man at the shore, right there, very close, saw her jumping. And as he did not see her come back up, he jumped in to save her. And he went into the water to try to save this woman. And as she was going deeper and deeper, drowning deeper into the depths of the water, and goes up to the surface, and seeing this man trying to swim in the waters. This man was struggling, swimming in the water, with a struggling way. And he forgot, this man did, that he did not know how to swim. And in his desperation and trying to save this woman, he jumped into the water. The man he forgot that he did not know how to swim. So this man or foolish hero, he he tried to ask for help, help, help. I'm drowning. And suddenly, this woman that was trying to take her life, she swam to him and she swam him back to the shore as he was drowning. And the woman, as he was drowning, he tried to give him, you know, try to resuscitate him, procedures, and she then went to the doctor, to the hospital. And the woman who wanted to take her life, she survived. And the foolish man who was trying to be a hero, he survived too. But let me, um, the story in this news article that the journalist he wrote the story. He finished with these words, and he said these words. That night, it wasn't the man who saved the woman's life. It was the purpose that saved his life. What was the purpose? The purpose it was which saved her life. The purpose of that woman was to save the man who was drowning. And instantly she had a mission in that moment to save her own life in that. The woman who wanted to take her life, now she didn't have to because she discovered what was her purpose and mission in life. How is an interesting anecdote, and I want to ask you this evening, what is your task or your role in this life? What is the task that you have as a woman, as a man, as a young person? What is your task in life? What is the purpose of your life? What is the purpose of life for you? The purpose of life is to live with purpose. And God, He is very interesting because what God does, He searches for those people that He can transfer into them His passion and His plans, His dreams. And God is interested in many of us in transferring into us, investing into us His plans and His dreams and His passion. He looked for a Jacob, He looked for a Abraham, a Daniel, He looked for a Jeremiah. God sought out a Moses. He sought out the 12 disciples, Paul. Every single one of them, a passion was inundated in them by God. God filled them with that passion. Men and women who God sought out so that He was able to transfer into them His passion and His dreams, His plans. And one of the things that the people of Israel, that the voices that they were hearing weren't the voices that were outside of them, outside of those threats and giants, those enemies they had surrounding Israel. But the biggest enemy that Israel could have was their own voice, their internalized voice that would tell them, you cannot do it. How many voices do we internally hear that take from us the desire, the purpose from our life? And that voice tells you, you can't do it. And the people of Israel, they went through that. And in the Word of God, we see the voices of these men that they went to supervise the land of Canaan. Verse 31, after they have informed about the land, and they give this information to Moses, they said, we're not going to be able to go against these people because they're too powerful. Look at the negative view that these men had, and the internal voice that says, you cannot do it. You cannot get it done. You're not going to be able to rise up or get out of this situation you're in. You're going to be like that forever. You tell the enemy, you are lying. You are the father of lies. And these men that they went to spies, they went to supervise the land, they spoke negatively about the land, the promised land. God wants for you to take a risk. I want to say this again. If you want to be a dreamer, God wants you to take risk. And everything in life, it costs you effort. It needs effort. Everything needs hard work. Everything in life, Your thoughts and of negativity, they will keep you or hinder you from obtaining that success. And I want to tell you that you cannot remember the last time that you were criticized by something. And I need to really repeat this again because this is something very important that you need to hear. Pay attention, please. If you cannot remember the last time that you were criticized by someone or about something, then you are not doing anything. When you do something in life, people are going to say things about you. People are going to criticize you. They will say something. Criticism, whether it's constructive or not, people are going to say something about you. I believe that people who make the decision to get up and do something and come into action, they're going to be criticized negatively. But do not hear the voice of negativity. Do not be intimidated by those negative voices latching against you. Let us not be fearful of these people. And we need to be, yes, cautious about what is happening around us. We have received so much negative information about what is happening with this pandemic, etc., that many people are fearful, are intimidated, they are controlled by this. And we need to please get the correct information. Always seek out the information that is correct. Now, all passion and enthusiasm, we need to take hold of any opportunity that God gives to us. Man of God and woman of God, and friend who is hearing me right now, fill your life with enthusiasm, passion, fire, enthusiasm, and take hold of the opportunity that God has given to you. And believe this, that you can do everything through Christ who gives you strength. Believe it, that you can do everything through Christ who gives you strength. And believe this, that God is doing amazing things in your life. Do not put your eyes on nobody. Put your eyes on God. Do not look at the people around you. Put your eyes on God. The Lord told Joshua, look, Joshua, I tell you for you to be strong. Do not fear. Do not be dismayed, because the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. And they're going to repeat this again. These amazing words that God told Joshua. Because Joshua, he was going through many emotional, influences in his life. And God, because God, has taken his leader Moses for him, right? Moses passed away. And you are the leader that has to guide my people to cross the Jordan River, to go to the other side, to the promised land. Joshua, I call you, be strong and courageous, because you will lead these people to inherit the land I swore. This is Joshua 1:6. I swore to their forefathers. Be strong and very courageous. Verse 7. So when Joshua was to face an enemy, an adversary, or he was, tempted to be fearful, he would then remember that he was a man that was with a divine commission, that he would not be able to be controlled by these fears, because these fears would then dissipate as he will recall and noticing that he is a man commissioned to guide the people, a man of God and woman of God. How many times has God said to you, I am with you, I am with you, and we are afraid, we are fearful, and our lives, our minds are so saturated with emotional dilemma, emotional distress. I'm not talking about that you are a person who is a super spiritual person. But let me tell you something. God has given us wisdom and to knowledge to do things. But let me tell you something. It is time for you to get out of your hiding place. You need to come to the reality. Face it. You have a plan. You have a dream. You have a mission that you need to get done. And you need to fulfill that. Problems are going to dissipate when you hear the internalized voice of God that tells you, I am with you. From the beginning, God has told you, be strong and be courageous. Do not be dismayed, because I am with you. And every single time that things will not come out the way that you want, you will always remember the commandment of God, and you will understand that it will be renewed in you. And one of the things that I love to do, my daughter sent me an amazing worship song, and as I was praying, I was listening to this worship song. And when I pray, let me tell you something. I'm the type of person that when I pray, I don't have musical accompaniment when I do that. But during this time, my daughter sent me this worship song, and I did it. I did it at the same time and I repeated the song. And as I was praying in this song in the background, God kept saying to me, I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you. Because God knows that we are people who are needy of God. We need God. But what happens is that we're very absent-minded or very forgetful of what God says to us. And I'm not going to mention the city or the people or the township. No. Instead of searching for God, people are looking for, witchcraft and looking for all these other types of aid and try to healers and stuff like that to try to be able to fix the situation, to bring a cure. And a lot of people instead search for idols and other gods instead of searching for the living God. And let me tell you, there is disease around the face of the earth, but there are people on this earth that are faithfully serving God, and God is working with these people. These people, God is going to transfer in them His passion. Maybe you are one of them. I believe that you are one of the people that God is working in your life. And I believe that God is observing you. And perhaps God has allowed you to go through this, epidemic or disease or this or that you haven't endured or you had gone through, having contracted this. Or maybe somebody around you. But let me tell you something. God, through this experience, that you have been able to come out victorious and got into the other side of victory, God is going to use you as a person to be exemplary to these lives, so you can see the greatness of God. And let me tell you something. Scripture allows us to remember the provision, the protection, and the care of God, and for us to be a person who stimulates other people. And Joshua, what God told to Joshua, is the same thing that God said to Joshua, the same thing that God says to us. But remember that God cares for us. And remember that God protects us. It doesn't matter what you are doing or going through. There is provision. There is a scarcity or a lot of need for foods. And some people were talking to me and said, well, I'm worried because, meat, the supply of meat is this low supply. And I said, well, hey, that's tough, man, because I don't eat a lot of red meat. But let me tell you something. Do not worry about tomorrow. Do not be anxious about tomorrow. Live today and give thanks to God for what we have today. Because we don't know about tomorrow. We don't know anything. Trust in the provision of God for you. Trust in the provision of God for today. And trust in the provision of God for today. And what it does, it causes us to be stimulated, to be overjoyed, and knowing that these three states of life. And I want you to study this. If you have a dream and you want to know the way that, and you want to know that it is God that is working in that plan or dream in your life, there's three things that you have to know. The birth of the vision, the death of the vision, and the resurrection of the vision. The vision is born, the vision is dead, and the vision resurrects. So that's how you know you are in God's plan. Now, in that process, do not abandon it if it's God in that process, because God is going to help you. Resurrection, revival is going to come to you. Resurrection is going to come to you in your marriage. If you're struggling with your marriage, do not give up. Do not abandon. Doesn't matter what is happening in your life. Keep yourself firm in God. There is a great purpose in your life from God. Whether it is in your marriage, in your family, or whatever it is in your life, ask God to encourage you today. ask God this moment to bring forth encouragement and a new dosage of faith. Ask God to bring to you encouragement that you're able to take a deep breath and have a new dosage of faith because God's help is coming along to you. It's coming to you. Because let me tell you something, God may get here late but not too late. God is there. And the Lord told Joshua in Joshua chapter 1 verse 6, be strong and courageous. And that is the problem with many people. That many people are accustomed to receiving things and they are too comfortable. And let me tell you something, my worry, my concern is not the epidemic. My concern is for you to be accustomed to only seeing service through social media and you forget about congregating, where scripture says, let's not stop congregating as many people have gotten accustomed to, as Hebrews say. And I don't want people to get used to that, because a lot of people, they get lazy. A lot of people get sluggish and they say, you know what, I'm not gonna go to church. How you gotta do this online? No, and do not be lazy. Do not be sluggish. Be strong. Be courageous. Hard times are gonna arise. Enemies are gonna come against you. They're gonna battle you. But remember, I am with you. And that is the key. I am with you. Only be strong and be courageous. We need to be courageous to serve God in these times that we live in. We need to be courageous. We need to renounce the world, renounce enmity with the world, and we need to renounce that. And there are many people that are clinging on to the world, holding on to the world, and they have a carnal driven or spirit that is in the flesh. And a lot of people, God is allowing these things to happening for there to occur an awakening in the church. And I hope, man, that when we come back to church, that we're not the same people. That our worship is not a weak, brittle type of worship, but our worship, it is genuine and it's real. That everything that we do to express to God is for real and pleases God. Are you hearing me? That I hope when everything reopens again, and that when we come to church, then we can go to all the places. Everything is opening up, and we can go everywhere, to stores and here and this, and we don't come to church, and I don't like this and I don't like that, and I don't like the way things are done or things are said. People don't go to church because they're upset about something, and a lot of the time God uses these things for people to wake up. And until the people of God do not wake up, and the people out there, they look at us and they don't trust us, they don't believe us. We need to understand that God did not provide to Joshua an explanation on how he would do things. And we want an explanation for everything. God explained this to me. How is this? How is that? And God is saying, it's none of your business how I'm going to do things. I do things as I see fit. And that was the response that God gave to Job. Did I ask you for permission when I made this world? No. So there are times that we want an explanation from God for everything. For everything that's going to happen. How am I going to get this accomplished? Look, God's people lives from promises, not explanations. The people of God need to believe in God's promises. We live by faith in the promises of God. We live by faith and not by sight. We live by faith as a people of God. We don't live by explanations. When we trust in God's promises, and we know by faith, Joshua 1:3, I will give you every place where you set your foot, as I promised Moses, that you can be certain that the Lord will also give you the necessary direction that you need, or guidance in the moment that you need it. And you're asking God, why is this happening? You don't need an explanation. You need to study Scripture. Scripture gives you an understanding of why these things happen. There are many reasons here why this happens. Be filled with God's Word. Hear God's beautiful voice and listen. What a new leader or a person who is a leader, as a person who is guiding a group or church group, what you don't need is not counseling, but you need encouragement. I gotta say this again. As a leader, whether it is in the church, as a father, as a manager of a group, whatever may be your position in life, what you need is not counseling, but you need to be encouraged. You need to be encouraged. To encourage a person literally means to give encouragement. And this time, what we need is to, in order to be encouraged, people who are going through dire situations, and even more people that don't know God. Where are the church leaders? Where are the leaders of the church? We had to call the leaders to see how they're doing. They don't call nobody. We need to call them how they are doing. Instead of the leaders to ministry leaders to be calling people, we had to call them. And that's why the churches don't grow. That's why God's people, the people in the world, don't believe us. They don't trust, evangelicals, because evangelicals, what they are, they're buried in four walls. They don't go out there. They don't call nobody to let the people know that they are in addiction, or succumb to that, and we don't let them know that Christ has died for them. And the thing is, we're not, doesn't matter to us whether people are calling me or they're not calling me, whether people are procuring me in a way to see how I'm doing. No, we are here to give. We give. It's not about receiving. Today is Sunday, right? Don't get mad. Now, what is the problem that we have? The problem is this, that a lot of people are getting stuck. They're getting stuck. They're stranded in their predicament, in their positions personally. And we're not encouraged. We are down. We are lowly in our spirit. Why is that? Because we can't. We're frustrated. We're tired of what's happening. We are frustrated financially, economically. We're frustrated there's no food. We're frustrated there's no work. Where's God in all of this? If God has promised you that He will be with you, listen, divine sovereignty is not a substitute for human responsibility. Look at this. Divine sovereignty is not a substitute for human accountability. The sovereign word of God, it is only a stimulus so that God's servants can believe in God. So that the servants of God will obey His commandments. And Joshua, he had to show his faith. Joshua had to be strong. Joshua had to be courageous. If he wasn't so, then he would not have crossed the Jordan River into the promised land. You have to be courageous. You have to be strong. God told him. So believers can have the certainty of the promises of God. Listen to this. These promises of God are to move the believers to action. The promises of God are to move us to action, and they aren't for us to sit down and get sun. No, it's for us to get mobilized to act. Do you know how Sheol has opened up his mouth, and a lot of people are being, consumed by it? How many young people? How many men? How many marriages have not gone down to Sheol because of this situation? What is the church doing about it? Church is doing absolutely nothing. There are many people sitting down, waiting to be stimulated, waiting to be moved. And they are the majority of churches, and I'm going to include the church too. There are many people who are sad or angry because nobody said hi, or nobody gave them a phone call, or nobody motivated them. These are people who are on the shores, people who have not grown up. They're immature. And we had to, we had to carry them in order for them to come to church. We gotta be. I believe that the person who's mature, we don't have to look for them. We don't have to call them. They're the ones doing the work of the kingdom. Listen to this, please. There are many people who are idle, who are sitting down. They're waiting to be motivated. They're waiting for a pat on the back. But let me tell you something. In Amos 3:12, there's a verse in Scripture that I really, really love, Church of God. The way that the shepherd frees from the lion's mouth. For the children of Israel would escape in such a way in the corner of a bed, next to a bed. And let me tell you something. This Bible verse that had devoured, the lamb, leaving only there parts of the ear as it devoured it. And the lion here represents Satan looking who to devour. And 1 Peter 5:8, Satan devours the lambs who represent God's people. Praying with the shepherd, when he saw that nothing was left of a lamb except the ear and the legs and the mouth of the lion. And sadly, I may say that we have lost that lamb, the sheep was, destroyed, was consumed. But I want you to hear this. The pastor here, he saw in this sheep something that even could be redeemed. It's incredible because he'd only seen the ear and the legs there, and the pastor, the shepherd, we're talking about Jesus here, right? He saw in the sheep, even though it was already eaten up and you only can see the ears and some legs, the Lord still had an ear to hear. He still had an ear to hear and some legs to sustain himself. It doesn't matter. Even though the enemy is beginning to devour us, God can still save us. And I'm going to repeat this again. It doesn't matter when you have fallen. This is in Amos chapter 3 verse 12. It doesn't matter if, the lion's mouth, what they had taken away from you. It's something you have left in you to support yourself in. There's still something that God can work in you. There's still something that God can redeem in you. It's not in what you have lost. It is in what is left. It's not in what you have lost, but in what is left. It's something is left in your life. The Lord told one of his churches, retain what you have. At another church, save what little is left for you. If you have whatever you have left, place it in God's hands. Hurry up. Run to God's hands. God can do a miracle for you. When there was a multitude of people that were hungry, right there, and he saw a boy with some fishes and some pieces of bread, and God gave food for a ton of people. And what little you have, God is going to do amazing things for you. Don't close yourself in the room of your life there in darkness. Do not let that. God is going to encourage you. Rebuke the devourer. Rebuke, discouragement. In the name of Jesus, I tell you, church, get up. I know that you can do it. Say with me, I can do anything through Christ who gives me strength. And while you have an ear left there. You have two legs there, like in the lion's mouth. You still have hope. You have a dream. Support yourself. And what you have heard God say about you, that God is going to fulfill that promise. Notice this. That it appears that the enemy has eaten up or devoured your dreams, Never. It is never too late. We serve a God of resurrection. We serve a God who will resurrect your dreams, even though the suffering wants to overtake you, or you have an ear to hear. God will speak to you, and even then, you will be able to support yourself in what you have heard. Nothing is impossible for my God. Wow. And it may be that you want to let go of everything. It may be that right now you want to give up. You want to quit. You want to run away from everything. You don't know where to go. You're trying to make decisions that are incorrect. You need to wait on God. God knows what He's going to do. Perhaps you're unemployed and you don't have any food in the fridge. You don't have anything in the pantry, right? But let me tell you something. God is looking at you right now. God knows what He is going to do. God is going to come to help you. God has a mission for you. God has a purpose for you. Those that wait on God will not be confused. They will not be ashamed. Trust in God. Have your ear ready to hear God. Do not hear voices or whispers of negativity. Have your ear available to listen to God's voice and be silent. Be still in God's presence, in His voice. Learn to close your mouth a little bit more and listen to God more so that you can be a person who is wise. In this moment, you have felt touched by this word. You feel that God has spoken to your life. I want you to pray. Bow your head and pray right now. Father God, I ask you for that woman, that man, that young person. They feel pressured. They feel tormented, hurting. They're not understanding, God, what purpose they have for their life. I ask you, God, help this person. Help them get up. Help them be able to hear in their ear that you have a mission for their life, that you have a purpose for their life, God. If these people who are accepting you as their Savior write their name in the book of life, if a person that they had, gone far from you, God, they had turned their back on you, but now they're turning their face back to you, God, tell them right now that you love them. That it doesn't matter how far they have fallen down, even though an ear is left in the mouth of the lion and two legs there. Whatever's left, God is there for you. God is going to redeem you with all of that. I've heard around the world, always give a word in their ear, in their dream, God, when they're sleeping, that there is a purpose for them. We have a young person. She's going to have a very delicate surgery on Tuesday. We pray for you. We ask that God may place His hand. Father God, this young lady is going to be going through an operation. And this Tuesday, they're going to have to do an operation, Father God. And you're going to allow God for man to intervene. Give the wisdom to these doctors, to these surgeons, that they're able to do the healing work in their life, Father God. And give her strength, encourage her, embrace her, hug her right now, and her whole family, Father God, in Jesus Christ's name. Amen, amen, amen. You don't have a church to attend, to congregate? We're located in 711 East 4th Street here in West Liberty, Iowa. We're not, sure, but roughly around, May, on Sunday in May, we're going to explain to you how we're going to do things. We're going to have some precautionary measures always doing things with wisdom. Do not be afraid when that time comes to go to church. If you're not afraid to go to the store, then don't be afraid to come to church. You can't be afraid. Do not be afraid. Some people have been touched by this disease, and you're saying everybody is contaminated. Yes, you know, contaminated. A lot of people have gone through this, not only in churches but everywhere. So, we need to be wise. We need to come to the reality. Do not forget about, the offerings, Church of God, and tithes, and please, church, remember all the donations. Thank you for all of you who have given, and will continue to give. Thank you. Don't forget about supporting our ministry here. The Lord bless you. The Lord keep you. The Lord let His face shine upon you, have mercy upon you. He show His face before you and place peace in you. You will invoke the name of God upon your family, and God will bless you. God bless you. Kisses to all of you. Hugs to all of you. Love you, church, family, and friends.
Quiero entregarte mis sueños, tu voluntad hacen ellos. Mi corazón te lo entrego, enamórame. Quiero aprender a escucharte. Quiero saber qué es amarte. De tu verdad yo saciarme. Enamórame de ti, Señor, que tu presencia me inunde. Haz de mí un odre nuevo, cámbiame, renuévame, enamórame, enamórame de ti, Señor.
We give thanks to God for the beautiful song of worship. I want to render to you my dreams, my plans. I want to worship you, God. I believe that that's what we want to do. We want to give to God our dreams, our plans, and for God to be the one who takes control of our lives. Once again, praise God, hallelujah. We're going to be dismissed this moment. We're going to pray the final prayer for the service so that God may bless your life, everything that you do. All future endeavors for your life will be under God's plan. Everything that you will do will be a blessing in order to glorify the holy name of God. So then, with God's favor, we will see you on Sunday. We're going to be live streaming again, beginning at 10 a.m. We're going to be glorifying God, worshiping God, all of us together. Let us ask God for His blessing, and we're going to be dismissed. Heavenly Father, we give thanks to you this hour. Thank you, Jesus, for your word that has come into our hearts, that we received. Thank you, my God, for speaking to us directly, speaking to all of the lives that we need your word for our hearts. Heavenly Father, bless our local church here. Bless our families, friends, who are watching today, and that bless them that nothing will be lacking in their homes. That every moment the blessing will be upon their families. I ask you, Father God, petition for her son who's going to go through some studies, Father God, and tests. You be the one, Father God. Through anything, whatever it may be, Father God, you place your hand upon his life, on his body, in the name of Jesus. We give thanks to God. Father God, dismiss us from this place with your blessing, your presence be with us and to our homes. And those that are in our homes, bless them in the name of Christ Jesus. Amen. Church, God bless you this evening and embrace to all of you. God bless you.